days, it wasn't like today where insurance companies and mutual fund sales and all that stuff's all tied together.
Yeah.
Okay. Back then, everything was a silo. Life insurance people only sold life insurance. Mutual fund people only sold mutual fund. Real estate only sold real estate. And if you were a person who wanted to invest and build your future, you were subject to who called on you, because the life insurance guy would try and convince you that life insurance will solve every problem that you got, because that's what he sold. So it was producer centric. It was designed the marketing methods were designed by the providers of the products for their benefit. And they just pushed it on you and hoped you bought.
Absolutely.
Okay. What I did is I turned the whole model around to a consumer-centric model. And the way we did that is we said, well, what does the consumer really need? What would make a better experience for them? Well, what if somebody sat down with the consumer and did a financial plan for them? In other words, they said, what are your assets? What's your income? Well, how do you see your income growing over the next few years? What do you need money for? Retirement? What do you want that to look like? You want to buy a house? What is that going to look like? You got kids. You got to put them through school. How much you need for that? So you mapped out what their needs were going to be. You started with their resources that they had, the incomes that they were going to get, and then you came back with them for a plan for how they get from here to there. And it made total sense, right?
Yeah.
Now you don't have to sell anything. You don't have to push anything. These people already know this is what I want.
Right.
All right, and they're asking you, how do I get it? Well, you need some mutual funds because they'll do this for you. You need life insurance to do that for you. You should be putting some of your money in real estate because I'll give you tax deductions. And you go through the whole thing. Okay, now, so when I went to build that in the late 1960s, I couldn't.
You're crazy, though.
I was a crazy nut,
Yeah,
first of all. And what I did was I formed a company and we started acquiring all those financial services. And so figure, we own them, right?
Yeah.
So we'll not just tell our people, here's what we want you to do.
Right. Didn't work out.
No, okay. That's where I ran headlong into this wall called human psychology. Okay. People are creatures of habit.
Right.
They don't want to change. They like doing what they do. And they're jealous of anybody who could possibly compete with them. Okay, that's human nature. It's going to be there. It was there 5,000 years ago when they wrote the Bible, and it's there now. Okay, and it ain't going away. So if you're building a business model that doesn't take into account the psychology of people, then you're building a failure model. It's just not going to work.
Right.
Okay, so what we learned when we built this model is it wasn't going to work.
Right.
So the life insurance guy was no way he's going to introduce the mutual fund guy.
Right.
And there was no way he's going to want to learn about mutual funds because it's not his thing. So it didn't matter what the pitch was to get in front of the client. When they got there, they all wanted to sell their own thing.
Right. Hold that thought, because we're going to come back and I want to get into, first of all, the formula to reinvent yourself. Secondly, how this failure turned to a success and the story that you're going to tell me. And thirdly, what am I going to do? I'm going to give you a story and you take me through the process of starting, growing, or expanding my company. Awesome, awesome, awesome interview I am having with Mr. Gordon Bazar. And before, I didn't mention it. We jumped right over it, but you've worked with Tony Robbins.
Yep.
You've worked with Jay Abrahams. You did infomercials. You international well-known speaker around strategic aggregation, personality traits, just a whole bit of it, business acquisition. I mean, like I said, I read your bio before and I'm just like amazed at every point of interest that I'm interested in. You have some value to give on everything. So you lived a well-diverse life in business. And you were telling us a story about how you failed at purchasing all these companies.
Right.
And then figuring out what you needed to really do in order to see this strategic aggregation formula out. What did you have to do?
Well, remember, this is going back to the very origins of strategic aggregation.
Right.
It hadn't even been named or technically invented yet.
Absolutely.
So we owned all these companies, and we thought because we were the owners that we could just tell our people, this is what we want you to do.
Right.
And psychologically, it doesn't work because people want to do what they've always done. They don't want to change.
Right.
They're uncomfortable changing. And
Stop.
if your model means you have to change other people's behavior patterns, your model will fail. And I proved it. I know that's what happened. But what I learned in that process was not only that we had to create something different that wouldn't change people's behavior patterns, I had to learn how to do that. And the way we did it back in 1969 is we created a new person that never existed before. Today, there's a name for that person. They're actually called a certified financial planner, a CFP.
I know some people that are certified.
Certified financial planners. Okay. Well, You are now looking at the guy who was part of the invention of that back in 1969
Awesome.
at an airport in Chicago.
Awesome. You're a pioneer.
Yes, I am.
And it was, well, there was nothing to reference. So I know you were probably like, how do I do it? So it was all innovative.
Yeah,
really.
yeah, you had to innovate.
Yeah.
You had to innovate. But getting back to the specific,
Yeah.
okay? So remember in my story earlier, we had the life insurance guy, we had the mutual fund guy, we had the real estate guy. All of them, they just wanted to sell their own product. And the fact that they had lots of products to sell and could do this financial plan, if they did a financial plan, it was only to show how much life insurance could be bought.
Right.
Or only to show how much mutual funds could be bought, because they all had an agenda and they wanted to make it to what they knew and they were comfortable with. And it didn't matter that we cross-trained them, didn't matter that we cross-licensed them. They always went back to doing what they were comfortable with and wanted to do. So we invented this person called the certified financial planner. And the whole idea of that person is that was the person now that we built into the sales force. They were the people that we sent out to call on the client, who then went through the financial planning and then pulled from our various businesses the products that were supposed to be right for the client.
Right.
Okay. So until we invented that third person, it just didn't work.
Yeah.
Okay.
You brought up all the products.
Now, just to show you the difference between what that was and strategic aggregation today. Now, there are many differences, but I'll show you the main one. Okay. We have one salesperson who has to bill their clients, but they now have 3 revenue sources. They have 3 products to sell, and they can do a better job for their client. Okay. Compare that to today's model, where we have 20 partners, each with their own client base, all making each other the benefits of their client base. Okay. And we're leveraging off of their capital with a business that's already built and already capitalized, already earning money, already successful, already having a reputation. And we don't have to start anything.
Right.
We don't have to educate the prospect to anything. We just have to do a better job for them with people that are already established. So we're leveraging everybody else's capital, everybody else's database, everybody else's everything to give them all more money.
This is smart. This is, you're a genius, actually.
Now, if any of this makes sense to you, what I'd like to encourage you to do is to contact our team, because we have a program where we will literally do all of this for you. So you don't have to think it through on your own. You don't have to go through all the steps and the methods. What we will do is we will actually get it done for you. So if this makes sense, just go to the description below this video and follow the instructions. It'll put you in touch with one of our team members. And from there on, we'll answer your questions, and hopefully we'll work together as partners and we'll get it done for you.